joining us this evening. This will be our last member event before our summer recess, and then we will renew member events in the fall. And so tonight I would like to introduce Shelby Stock, our speaker. She graduated from the University of Utah in 2019, and then she's been working for the Utah State Parks as a dark sky programming seasonal since January of 2020. And this year, 2020 and 2021, she has assisted with the International Dark Sky Park certifications for 6 different Utah state parks. And so I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Shelby.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you everybody for watching. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you to Friends of Snow Canyon for inviting me. And I will begin screen share. I have a short presentation and I can take questions at the end. We'll begin screen share. 1 second. Okay, and tonight I will be talking about light pollution and dark skies and the Utah State Parks Dark Sky Initiative in general, what it is, how it affects us, and what we can do to combat light pollution. And as some of you may know, Utah harbors a precious but diminishing resource, its phenomenal dark skies. So what exactly is a dark sky? First, we should define the term before we can begin discussing it. So this definition reads, a dark sky, denoting or located in a place where night sky darkness is free or relatively free of artificial light. And what do I mean by artificial light? This is any light that humans produce. This is man-made light that does not occur naturally. So here's a map that illustrates light at night around the globe. Most of the world's population lives in urban environments. And because of light pollution, it is estimated that 2/3 of the world's population cannot see the Milky Way from where they live. Many people have never seen the Milky Way or a starry night sky. This is one topic we will discuss in depth, how light pollution affects our quality of life and how humans are impacted with their interaction or lack thereof to the night sky. And it is interesting to note where the dark places are on the map. The very remote places like the Australian outback or areas of Africa or even northern parts of Canada are very dark. But so is the Western United States relatively. It's about the center of the country where that imaginary light boundary is. And east of the Mississippi River is a large sea of light where you would likely have to travel large distances to find a truly dark sky. And this is the map that I like to present because we can physically see the changes in light over the last 60 years and predicted light in the future. There's a huge increase of light overall, and we are closest to the 2025 level. And even from the year 1997, you can see a dramatic increase in light. You can see on the map that the colors are the intensity of the light, and red and white indicate large urban centers. And as I said, these areas never experience true natural darkness. They experience what is instead known as eternal twilight. And even with the increased light, there are still some places in the West, particularly where Utah is on the map, that remain dark, at least for now. So now we know what artificial light is, but what is light pollution? We need to define this term if we're going to discuss it in depth. Light pollution is the excessive use of artificial light. Most of us are familiar with air, water, and land pollution, but did you know that light can be a pollutant also? And this pollution comes in a few forms. The first we're going to mention is light trespass. This is light that falls where it's not intended, wanted, or needed. A good example of this is if you have a neighbor who shines a porch light or floodlight intending to light their yard, but instead it streams into your window at night. This is called light trespass. And here's a very good example of that. I'm sure we have experienced that either from Perhaps a well-intentioned neighbor that misdirects their light, or a city that places a street light right next to your window. The next is glare, and glare is visual discomfort from excessive brightness. An immediate example I think of is the super bright LED headlights that appear blue or purple and seem to blind you as you pass by them on the highway. Another is the bright electronic billboards near freeways. Lighting should be aimed at what you need to light. And light clutter is the confusing and excessive groupings of light. These are multiple light sources that don't seem to be focused on anything. Even if the light fixtures are properly aimed and directed, there are still too many of them. Multiple street lamps in the same location, high lumen flood lamps right next to each other, like in this image. This is light clutter. And the final is urban sky glow. This is the brightening of the night sky from artificial light over inhabited areas, often urban centers.
Oh, there we go.
And this seems to create a dome that covers the location. And this light is far-reaching and is visible from great distances. If you look toward horizon lines, you can often see light domes over cities, much like in this image. I'm originally from South Central Utah, and in my hometown near Bryce Canyon National Park, you can actually see the urban sky glow from places like Las Vegas or Salt Lake City that lie hundreds of miles from that location. And if you can see my mouse here, so this orange glow along the horizon lines are what they call urban sky glow. Next, we can talk a bit about some general terms in regards to lighting. When people talk about light being dark sky friendly, full cutoff or partial cutoff, high lumen, low Kelvin, we will delve into that. I like to think of light as a three-legged stool. There are three things to consider when choosing and considering dark sky friendly lighting. The first is Kelvin, and Kelvin is the color temperature of a light, meaning how red or blue the light appears. People often say it's warm or cool toned. Warm colors are lower Kelvin, and the cool colors are higher Kelvin. The Kelvin rating of sunlight is 55 to 5700 Kelvin, and this is considered pure white. If you're into photography and have heard of white balance, you may be already familiar with this concept. And fixtures are considered dark sky friendly when they are at or below 3000 Kelvin. Bluer light over 3000 Kelvin tends to brighten the night sky. When I talked about the bright headlights that create a lot of glare on the highway that appear blue or purple, those would be high Kelvin bulbs. Researchers are actually beginning to connect blue light to negative health effects in humans and effects on wildlife. And we will talk about that more in a bit. And here's another Kelvin scale for a better representation. So lumens are the second leg of the stool, and lumens measure the brightness of a light. Outdoor lighting can easily become excessive, and people often use lights that are much too bright and much too high intensity for the task, where they could get away with a much dimmer fixture. The third leg of the three-legged stool is light direction, and we often call this shielding. This is what we mean when we say a light is shielded or unshielded, partial or full cutoff. So in the image, the exposed light example on the left-hand side is what we call a globe light. And these lights are often decorative and they sit on a pedestal with their light shining completely upward. And this would be a bad example of a dark sky friendly light. These type of fixtures actually create a shadow directly under the light, which defeats the purpose of having a light there at all. In the second example, the light has a small amount of coverage on top, but the bulb is still largely exposed, creating excessive glare and shining out to the sides where it's still wasted. The third image is a partially shielded light. The majority of light is falling on the ground instead of being directed into the sky, but part of the bulb is still exposed. So the final lighting example is a full cutoff or fully shielded light. This fixture is this fixture that shines the light downward directly below the fixture. This way you can direct the light exactly where you need it. And it is the ideal light to have for dark sky friendly places. The bulb is protected, so there's no light shining upward or outward into the sky. Do we really need to shine light in the sky anyway? And furthermore, lumens and light direction often go hand in hand. If you use dimmer lights that are well placed and shielded, you can often use a fewer number of fixtures to achieve the same amount of light output because that light isn't wasted into the sky. So this bright sky versus dark sky comparison are photos that I really enjoy. The photos demonstrate how excessive light impacts the night sky. So the caption reads, in 2003, there was a massive power outage that caused a blackout for 55 million people over large areas of the East Coast of North America. This before and after image was taken from the same vantage point in Ontario, Canada, looking toward Toronto. The before image shows the sky completely washed out by urban sky glow. In the after, you can now see the Milky Way. This comparison proves that light pollution is reversible. Unlike other forms of pollution that are hard to reverse, light pollution isn't. We can really bring back the quality of the night sky just by lighting what we need when we need. So why are Utah skies so dark? We are very lucky here. We're situated in an ideal location for night sky viewing. We are high in elevation. Utah has the distinction of having the third highest elevation in the country, following only Colorado and Wyoming, with our average elevation sitting at 6,100 feet. This means there's less ozone and fewer particles between you and the stars. Utah is also very dry. There's very little humidity in the air, which means less moisture and fewer water droplets to look through. Dry air creates good seeing conditions in the atmosphere. And another great quality about Utah is that we're shielded to a large degree by mountains, plateaus, and cliffs. These landforms shield the dark sky areas from urban sky glow that I mentioned earlier. Northern Utah parks along the Wasatch Back, like Jordanelle, Wasatch Mountain, Deer Creek, East Canyon, and Rockport, even though they lie in close proximity to urban centers, they are shielded by the Wasatch Mountain Range to the west, and this makes their night skies incredibly dark. And at places like Snow Canyon, the canyon walls block the urban sky glow from St. George. And Utah actually has the most dark sky places of anywhere in the world. We currently have 23 internationally recognized dark sky places. And these have been designated by the International Dark Sky Association. This is an organization that recognizes superior places around the world that are working to preserve and protect dark skies. And here's an image of all of our certified international dark sky places. There are 10 state parks: Antelope Island, Dead Horse Point, East Canyon, Fremont Indian, Goblin Valley, Goosenecks, Jordanelle, Kodachrome, Rockport, and Steinecker. There are 10 national park areas, 2 communities, Helper and Torrey, and 1 county park in Weber County. And the Utah Division of State Parks is thrilled that, as Kathy said, since last fall, we have added 6 new state parks to the dark sky family. And East Canyon State Park was designated in August of 2020. We had 3 designated at the same time. We had Jordanelle, Kodachrome, and Rockport that were all designated in January of this year. And Goosenecks and Fremont Indian were just designated in March, and they became the 9th and 10th state parks in Utah that are dark sky parks. But the really great thing is that Utah's not even done yet, and that is part of our dark sky initiative. And a handful of other parks are in various stages of the application process. Wasatch Mountain in northern Utah has submitted their application and is waiting for determination. And we are excited to announce that 2 of your neighboring state parks, Gunlock and Snow Canyon, have also begun working toward their own dark sky titles. And the IDA application is rigorous and it often requires years of work. Many of the parks that have been recently designated have been working on dark sky park applications since early 2016. And there are many requirements that parks must fulfill in order to become dark sky areas. They must conduct a lighting inventory of every single fixture within the park and change the non-compliant lighting to dark sky friendly lighting. They must take sky quality readings multiple times per year, carry out community outreach and leadership, and organize dark sky educational programs for the public, much like this program tonight. So the following images were all taken in our beautiful state parks. This is a Milky Way image over East Canyon State Park in Morgan County. And this is Fremont Indian State Park near Sevier. And visitors come from all across the country and all over the world to view the wonderful night skies in Utah. These are star trails over Kodachrome Basin near Bryce Canyon. And under normal conditions, many state and national parks hold frequent dark sky events and star parties for the public. And here is the Milky Way over the Goblins of Goblin Valley. It is so fantastic to be able to show visitors the Milky Way, the rings of Saturn, a galaxy, or a nebula for the first time. So why is this even important? Why do dark skies matter and how do they affect us? The brightening of the night sky is more than just an aesthetic issue. We can talk next about light pollution and its impact on human health and well-being, the environment, the economy, and our culture and heritage. First, we'll talk about human health and safety. In humans, artificial light affects our hormones and our sleep-wake cycles and our biological clocks. Before industrialization, transition to nighttime began at dusk, and firelight and candles had very little impact on our sleep-wake cycles. Biologically, humans need darkness to rest and revitalize. And over time, humans have developed a natural biological clock that is called our circadian rhythm. And this circadian rhythm can be altered when our bodies are exposed to light at the wrong times. Absence of light sends a critical signal to the body that it's time to rest and reset. Melatonin is the hormone that is released in our brains in response to darkness. It helps us fall asleep and stay asleep at night. And light actually suppresses our melatonin production. And if you're exposing yourself to a lot of light at night, this makes it more difficult to sleep. And studies have found that blue light is actually the worst culprit. This is why cell phones and tablets often come equipped with a blue light blocking filter that makes your screens more red later in the day. Red lights are less likely to shift circadian rhythm and affect sleep. And blue light blocking glasses have also become a popular way to combat blue light. So safety concerns are another side effect of light pollution. More light does not automatically equate to more safety. As we have talked about a few times, excessive light can create glare, and glare makes it more difficult to see, like in the photo seen here. The homeowner has a bright floodlight that is creating glare, and light fixtures that aren't properly aimed and shielded can create shadows where there's supposed to be light. This situation can potentially be dangerous for the homeowner if the person trying to enter is unwanted. Because brighter light does not mean safer, one way you can retrofit your light at home is to install adaptive controls, or one good example is motion detection lighting. A motion activated light would not only alert the homeowner to a person or animal outdoors, but if someone was trying to enter your home unwelcomed, a motion detection light might scare them away. In addition to motion detection lighting, you can also install blackout curtains or shutters on your windows. And the added safety benefit of having blackout curtains or closing your shutters after dark is that a potential thief would have less ability to study the interior or the entrances to your home. It has also been found that light pollution negatively impacts wildlife that use the darkness for hunting and foraging, navigation, shelter, sleep, migration, breeding, and pollination. Animals, much like humans, have relied on dependability of their day to night cycle. Nocturnal animals specifically have evolved to function at night, and their eyes have a unique sensitivity to light. There are well-documented examples of light pollution's negative impact on animals, and sea turtles and birds are discussed most often. Night migrating birds use the moon and the stars as navigational tools along their migration routes. This trait naturally draws night migrating birds to bright lights in the city. In unfamiliar urban environments, these birds can often become disoriented and collide with tall, brightly lit buildings, or fly in circles and become exhausted. Colliding with tall, brightly lit buildings leads to millions of bird deaths every year. The second example that is commonly noted is sea turtles. And although sea turtles live in the ocean, they lay their eggs on beaches. And sea turtle hatchlings have an innate instinct that leads them in the brightest direction, which is often bright stars, the Milky Way, or the moonlight reflecting off the surface of the ocean. Bright city lights next to seashores can cause sea turtle hatchlings to be misdirected and instinctively crawl inland instead of out to sea. And like birds, the turtles can then become disoriented. And this is dangerous for them, and they can often die of dehydration. And many sea turtle species are already endangered, so this is just exacerbating an already existing problem. Next, we should talk about impacts to the economy. And actually, there are both negative as well as positive impacts to the economy. Excessive light pollution is a consequence in the form of wasted energy and wasted dollars. The IDA estimates that at least 30% of all outdoor lighting in the US alone is wasted, mostly by lights that are unshielded and shine into the sky. And as we mentioned before, when discussing shielding, fully shielded fixtures can provide the same level of illumination, or more in some cases, on the ground as unshielded ones, but with less energy output and less cost. You can use a lower lumen bulb if it's shielded, and it'll produce the same amount of light. And dark skies, on the other hand, which is the absence of light pollution, provide an economic benefit in the form of astrotourism. Places where night skies are free from artificial light pollution have become increasingly popular tourist destinations. Astronomical tourism is a form of nature-based tourism specifically concerned with the viewing of celestial objects, space, or the physical universe. And many people visit state parks for daytime sightseeing and recreation. But when parks offer nighttime programs in addition to their daytime activities, this often leads to visitors spending more time in the area than they initially intended. This in turn leads to more money spent in gateway communities that surround the parks, supports job creation, and adds value to local economies. Astrotourism may total billions of dollars in revenue for Utah alone. And Utah's Governor Spencer Cox actually declared the month of April as Dark Sky Month in Utah. And our state parks offer unique dark sky programming that occurs year-round. Telescope viewing, constellation tours, full moon hikes, snowshoe hikes, kayaking trips, or scorpion walks are all things you can enjoy at our parks. And when in-person programming fully resumes, I recommend all of you visit a state park and take advantage of a dark sky event. And we can hopefully be able to host a few at Snow Canyon this year. We saw a great example of an astrotourism boom during the 2017 total solar eclipse. People flocked from all over the country and all over the world into the path of totality. This really opened people's eyes to the value of dark sky places and the economic potential that they possess. And our culture and heritage is another impact that dark skies have. For centuries, our ancestors viewed true darkness of the night sky. There is an important cultural connection to dark skies. The beauty of the sky inspired scientific discovery, works of art, religion, philosophy, and literature. Viewing the cosmos connects people to the surrounding universe and to each other. What will we lose when we lose the stars? The sky is something we all share. It's the same sky our ancestors viewed centuries before us. Enjoying the beauty of the night sky has been a tradition for thousands of years. If we lose that, we could lose a lot more. So light pollution may seem disheartening to some people, but there is good news. Light pollution is actually the most preventable and reducible form of pollution. And if you'd like to bring dark skies home, here are some very simple solutions. Light only where and when you need it. Shield lights and direct them downward. Use the minimum amount of light necessary. Use bulbs with a color temperature of 3000 Kelvin and lower. Install timers and dimmer switches. And if you must have security lighting, use adaptive controls like motion sensors. And keep indoor light inside. Close blinds and curtains when lights are on at night. And you can also get started in your own backyard. You can conduct an outdoor lighting inventory around your house or property to assess the impact of your light on the night sky. And since we're talking about state parks, here are some solutions for the lights on your RV or camper van. The main takeaways are shielding, brightness, and color temperature. Many people come to state parks and natural areas to see the stars and appreciate the night sky. So courtesy to your campground neighbors is something to be aware of. And for more information, you can visit the helpful websites on the screen: Utah State Parks Dark Sky Initiative, International Dark Sky Association, University of Utah's Consortium for Dark Sky Studies, and the Colorado Plateau Dark Sky Cooperative. And I'm also open to any dark sky questions you might have. And there are local astronomy clubs all throughout the state. And I believe St. George has an astronomy group that often does dark sky outreach. And while this video plays, I will leave you with one of my favorite quotes from the notable astronomer Carl Sagan. He memorably noted in his book, Pale Blue Dot, "Before we invented civilization, our ancestors lived mainly in the open, out under the sky. Before we devised artificial lights and atmospheric pollution and modern forms of nocturnal entertainment, we watched the stars. There were practical calendar reasons, of course, but there was more to it than that. Even today, the most jaded city dweller can be unexpectedly moved upon encountering a clear night sky studded with thousands of twinkling stars. When it happens to me after all these years, it still takes my breath away." And that about wraps up my presentation for the evening. If you have any questions, I'm open to take them. Please feel free to ask. And here is my basic contact info as a further resource.
Very nice. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. I really enjoyed that. I hope we get a lot of people inspired.
That's good. Thank you so much.
Shelby, thank you so very much. We really appreciate your presentation and the information you provided.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being here.
Great. Are there any questions from the audience?
Just one from me. This is Barry. I would like to know, how close is Snow Canyon? You've done a couple of interviews out there. Are we on track? I mean, we'll be able to make it in a couple of years, or is it going to be a long way off? Or
Yeah, definitely. It's very promising. I went out myself and took some dark sky readings last week, and the north area of the park is particularly dark. Of course, as you head south toward Ivins and Santa Clara, it gets a little bit brighter. But the north end of the park, we went up West Canyon Road, and even at the White Rocks area, it's incredibly dark, and I was very surprised. And of course, the application process does take a few years just to gather a lighting inventory and all the necessary information. But dark sky readings alone are well within what the IDA requires. So that's very promising for Snow Canyon.
so we are talking a couple of years off before we'll get the designation.
We're anticipating at the beginning of 2023 because it's just the nature of the applications. They do take multiple years just to prove that you've been conducting dark sky educational programming and doing the necessary work required to become a dark sky park. And so we're hoping to submit the application next fall of 2022. And then a few more months after that, we'll receive word on the designation. So it will likely be a year or so.
All right, good. Thank you much.
You're welcome.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I'm
All right,
not,
if that's it, I'm going to shut recording down so that we don't have any silence. We don't want to record silence any more than we want to see a light.
right.
All
And
right, good night.
I think Kathy had to go. So Shelby, thank you very, very much. We're super pleased to have you join us. And everyone else, if you get any ideas for future events, please don't hesitate to contact me. And we look forward to seeing you in the fall.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Lori.
Great. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.